What's happening, guys? Welcome back to this episode of FTD News in History. It's pretty much every athlete's dream to represent their country, and you know, the Olympics over the years, we've seen some huge moments.
Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again!
We've also seen some pretty epic fails.
Whoa! And this is down!
Normally, news in history is a little bit more on the darker side, but this episode, I figured I'd lighten it up a little bit. Let's take a trip down memory lane and take a look in history of 6 of some of the most shocking and epic fails that ever happened in the Olympics. But before we continue, I want to know, what are some of your favorite sports? Let me know down there. The British world champion bobslayer Gillian Cook got a little bit cheeky back in the 2010 Winter Olympics. Gillian Cook and her partner Nicola Minicello were preparing to launch, and then all we saw was a full moon and a black G-string. The pair ended up coming in 7th place. Yeah. Bummer. At the 1988 Summer Games in Seoul, Greg Louganis, he hit his head on the end of the diving board when he was doing a reverse somersault. This happened in the preliminaries of the 3-meter springboard competition. Now, he cut his head open pretty good and he had to get 5 stitches for that. But less than 30 minutes after the accident, he was back up on the board, leading him to eventually win a gold medal.
The doctors worked on him for 30 minutes, stitches in his head. He came out for the next dive. Here was our call.
And it helped to cement his status of being one of the best divers in the world. Oh, just watching that back, I felt that in my head. Now, being a referee in a sport is probably one of the toughest jobs in the world. You could die if you call a game wrong. At the 2008 Summer Olympics, Angel Valodia Matos from Cuba, he lashed out at a referee and a judge after being disqualified from his match against Arman Chilmanov from Kazakhstan. He was competing in a Taekwondo match, and yeah, he just kicks the referee in his head. Okay, so now the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia, pretty much everything from the beginning to the end was a fail. Like, there's so much to count. Like, the Olympic flame burnt out 44 times. Not to mention there's several hotels that weren't even fully built. One athlete, Rebecca Wilson, even almost walked into an empty elevator shaft. Elevator door opened up. There was no elevator there. What the heck? Some of these hotels had some toilets that weren't even working. Here's one with a sign that says, "Do not put toilet paper in the toilet." Yeah. Like, there's so many fails to count. Like, take a look at some of these headlines.
We must up the place, turn up the bass and make them all have fun. How we ablaze the fire, make it fun them. We must up the place, turn up the bass and make some sound, boy run. And we will end your week just like a Sunday.
At the 2000 Summer Olympics, Vince Carter, who's 6'6", dunks over 7'2" Fred Wise. It was American. Now, in response to getting dunked on like that, Fred Wise was a pretty good sport about it. He even said this in a statement: "Vince Carter deserves to make history. Sadly for me, I was on the video too. I learned people can fly." Now, probably one of the biggest fails in Olympic history by far would have to be Brazil's air quality. Apparently, Rio de Janeiro's air fails to meet the requirements of the World Health Organization standards. Brazil said that the air quality is within the limits recommended by the World Health Organization, but they actually lied about that. It's not true now, and it wasn't true back in 2009 either. That's when Rio won the rights to host the 2016 Games. Athletes have already been advised not to drink the water from the Guanabara Bay, but how do you get away from not breathing in the air? Now, just to put it into perspective a little bit, in Rio, 5,400 people died from air pollution in 2014, which is more than the city's 3,117 murder victims last year. Air is the #1 murderer in Rio. Well, that concludes this episode of FTD News in History. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. And if you're new to this channel, you can get your dose of daily news on some of the most shocking, weird, and trending stories going on, as well as News in History episodes where we take a look at some of the most bizarre, shocking, sometimes creepy events that happened in history. In this case, since it's Olympic season, it was a little bit lighter. If you did like this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll see you guys in another video. But before you guys go, why not stay a little while and check out another video? There's been a lot of controversial shootings in the past, so here's a News in History episode on 6 of the most deadliest mass shootings in US history. It's definitely one that may leave you a bit teary-eyed. But if you're looking for something a little bit more paranormal, here's another video on some very creepy Ouija board stories. But if you're a little scared easily, you may want to avoid this one. Check it out if you dare. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.